Welcome back to another episode of Trainli TV. Today we're going to be doing another segment on building the Kleine Scheidegg train station. It's been a little while since we worked on this project, but there was another building there that was up at the train station, the real one, that I wanted to incorporate into the model of the train station here at the Alpine and Western Pacific Railroad. So what we've done is we're recreating that. There was a teepee that was there. It was a large teepee, and it was basically set up as a bar party place. So in the wintertime, you could ski up to it and get your favorite fermented beverage, or in the summertime, you could walk up or take the train up and have a lovely fermented beverage there at the Kleine Scheidegg Station area. So we've done this pretty much similar to the other ways that we've, the other processes we've done in the past. And we had Nico do I sent him some pictures and some approximate dimensions, and he went ahead and did a nice 3D CAD drawing of it. We sent that off to Southwest Waterjet, and they went ahead and cut out the pieces out of PVC. That's pretty much our standard go-to material in these types of buildings. We're going to have this bolt, it's about a 1/4 inch bolt, mounted in the concrete, the tile up on the platform, and then it'll come into here, and there'll be a nut on the inside, and this will just spin down until it's all snug on the ground there. So I went ahead and just cemented these pieces in place first with some of the standard PVC cement. And what we want to do is take this little piece of wood, and I'm going to glue it in right here with some 5-minute epoxy. It's funny on how these, I think you may have seen on another episode, a radio-controlled boat that I made. Started out as a kid and finished up, did a bunch of improvements or enhancements to it over the last few years. And boy, the smell of the epoxy, 5-minute epoxy, sure brings me back to when I was a little kid building that boat. I took some sandpaper and roughed up the surfaces of the PVC just so that this epoxy would have a little bit better place to grab onto. There we go, that's where we want that. And then once that sets up, we'll come back and drill the hole in there. Now the next thing is we'll start putting these pieces together. Clean that up, clean this up. And we'll take this one, get a little bit. Go right like that. And this should stay right on there. Okay. Now these alternate where we have a piece with a slot and then a piece that's solid, and they just alternate back and forth. Go. And we'll sort of test that. That goes good right there. These up a bit. There we go. That's good. Take a little bit of this here and we'll glue this together. Yeah, I'm gonna leave these two off right now until we get that hole drilled and that piece all set in place. But I think we're doing pretty good. What I might want to do is I think I'm going to run a piece of tape around the bottom of this. All right, we put some tape around here, around the top, around the bottom, just to kind of hold everything nice and tight. I went ahead and just drilled a quick 1/4-inch hole, and that went up through the wood, and that way we mount this screw in the station platform out there. We can just spin this around and it will attach nicely. Next thing I want to do is put that little nut on the inside here. All right, and we'll test that. All right, good. The bolt comes all the way through. There's just a little bit of wood in the way, but we clean that out. Okay, take that out, and I like to sign this and put a date in it. There we go. Sign the date, that, and we'll close this up. Now I'm just going to put some more of this cement right over these tab joints, and let this set up overnight. And then we'll come back and sand everything and make it nice and smooth, so that when we vinyl wrap it, you won't see those joints in there as well. And then we have to put the poles in and attach the top and so forth. So that's it for this evening, and we'll be back and get the rest of it wrapped up tomorrow. Thank you. Well, hello and welcome back. Over the last couple of days, we've been working on the TP, and what we did from the last time is obviously we went ahead and we glued all the individual kind of pie-shaped pieces around to make our TP. We had a top section right here that was printed, 3D printed. We glued that on. I've been using epoxy on gluing this together, and we sanded that. Next is I'm taking 1/4-inch wood dowels and gluing them in, and what we did was we took the router or the Dremel tool, and just using a little sanding attachment, we kind of sanded out a little bit of a round-shaped cradle so that the wooden dowel would fit in there nicely. And then what we've been doing is coming around behind that once it's all glued, cemented in place, filling this in with some wood putty, and then what we'll do is we'll sand that all kind of smooth once we get these last couple pieces. And we've just been kind of spinning around the top. The other thing that we've done is we've kind of sanded sections off this so they don't look like a perfectly round dowel, but they look maybe more like a log that's been cleaned up and used. So what I'm going to do next is we've done all of these. We're going to put the putty in on this one, and then we'll glue this one in place, and then come back and put the final bit of putty on that. The idea with the putty is just to make it so it's not quite as an abrupt transition. So when we put the cover over it, it will not be as such a prominent log, but a little bit more subtle of a transition from the PVC over the wooden dowel. All right. That's with the wood putty in there. Okay, what I'm going to do now is mix up some of this epoxy, 5-minute epoxy, 1/4-inch dowel in place. Up this top part so it looks more like a pole versus a 1/4-inch dowel. Okay, now we got this, and we will start. Now I'll tape these in place. Fills in the gap between the PVC and the wooden dowel. Okay, we have completed this now, and we'll let that set up for probably about a half hour or so. Then we'll come back in and put the putty on it, let that set, and then come back and sand it. Well, welcome back. And now what we're going to do, give you a little update. What we've done so far is we finished gluing in all the dowels, and then we filled them in with some wood putty, and then kind of sanded them all smooth. So that's all set to go. The next step is we're going to use some of this finishing resin. We're just going to paint that over these dowels and so forth so that it gets a nice finish. But before we do that, we want to I'm going to go ahead and stain these first, so those look a little bit of a brown color, and then we'll put the resin on the whole thing. Okay, so what we're going to do now is stain these tops of these dowels, because those will be sticking out from underneath the covering that we'll put over this. All right, that's all we need to do with the stain. Now we'll mix up some of this finishing resin. Make sure we have enough inside the top of this, just so that we want to keep this pretty waterproof so nothing gets inside and eventually rots out that wooden piece that we have in there that anchors it, that has the threads on it. Now I might come back and do a second coat, see how well this looks. But I don't think we'll need a second coat, but once this dries, we'll turn it on its side, and I want to do the bottom as well because we put some putty in there in some of the joints, so that is a nice waterproof seal as well. Okay, we got our coat of finishing resin on there. We'll let that set up, and then we'll come back and do the bottom next. Well, we're back in the shop, and I'll get you caught up on some of the things we've done yesterday and so forth. Is we put the 2 coats of finishing resin on here. We gave a light sanding of between each one, and we put a little bit on the bottom here because we do have some joints here that we want to make sure the water can't seep into. And now what I'm going to do is this: I'm going to put like some primer with some gray paint on here. So that, you know, there's when they put the final graphic film over it, it will be kind of all one color behind it. All right. And then this is our little paint box that I made. If I'm doing a lot of painting, and I'm not trying to film at the same time, I will hook the vacuum up to this, and there's an air filter in here, and then it goes through and into another filter behind me. But that's my little paint booth, and let's get our paint ready to go. And I got this little paint shaker, which is really pretty cool. Just put it on there, tighten this up. All right, that should be good. That location, that's a new location for it, and it certainly doesn't work very good there. Find another spot for it. Okay. All right, we got our coat of gray primer on there. We'll let this dry, and then I'll do a quick coat on the bottom side, let that dry, and then we'll take it off to the sign shop, and they'll put that graphic wrap around it, so it should be pretty cool.